Congressman, Donald Trump suggests that he could prosecute his political rivals if he's elected president again. Roll tape.
Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. And it's easy because it's Joe Biden.
Congressman, would you support retribution? Because that's what Donald Trump is talking about, retribution.
Stuart, Donald Trump is not talking about retribution. Donald Trump is talking about every American standing as an equal justice system. What we have seen is if your last name is Biden, you're treated much more favorably than any other American. That is what he's talking about.
Representative Jason Smith likes to deny reality when it's directly presented to his face. And it makes sense that he's trying to provide cover for Trump's promises of retribution. He's been part of pushing the fledgling Biden investigation for over a year now.
Congressman, how close are you to proving the president being directly involved in these business deals?
You know, it's pretty disappointing, Stuart, and it's not that hard to connect the dots. You see more than $20 million has went to the Biden family and its affiliates, and it's solely because of the perception of influence that Hunter and other members of the Biden family have with the President of the United States.
You're leading the inquiry into the Bidens. Can you just spell it out for us? What are they alleged to have done?
Well, let's just start out. The two IRS whistleblowers that came before the House Ways and Means Committee last year, they released over 1,500 pages of documents showing the influence peddling that was being sold all over the world in multiple countries, from Russia to Ukraine to China. And where we stand today is we've seen an administration that has continued to obstruct our investigation, and even to the sense that you saw James Biden and Hunter Biden lie to Congress. For example, one of the first messages, Stuart, that we ever released was the WhatsApp message that was between Hunter Biden and a Chinese business associate that basically was trying to shake him down for $5 million, saying that he was seated next to his father. We asked Hunter Biden about that message directly under oath February 28th. And he said it was another Zhao. Well, guess what? The IRS whistleblowers provided additional evidence showing 3 months of continuous messages to that same Zhao, which was the Chinese business associate. Therefore, Hunter Biden, lying under oath, should be criminally prosecuted for that. Let's hope that the Biden administration will treat anyone with the last name Biden the same way they do Trump.
Still speculative evidence, still no support, even from fellow Republicans, for impeachment. He used terms like the perception of influence, and he was basically trying to shake him down when presenting his case on TV. But he gave away his entire motivations when he said, let's hope the Biden administration will treat anyone with the last name Biden the same way as they do Trump. Representative Smith just isn't allowed to admit what everyone sees and hears Trump say.
Focus on those that want people to believe that you want retribution, that you will use the system of justice to go after your political enemies.
So, number one, they're wrong. It has to stop, because otherwise we're not going to have a country. Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. And it's easy because it's Joe Biden. And you see all the criminality, all of the money that's going into the family and him, all of this money from China, from Russia, from Ukraine. During one of the interviews, I said, what about the $3.5 million paid to the Biden family from the mayor of Moscow's wife? What about that? And
Russian
Chris Wallace defended him, said, you can't ask that question. Well, then it turned out to be a big deal long after that debate. That was one of the debates. And it turned out to be a big deal. And Chris Wallace said, we can't go there because we don't know that it should turn out to be true.
And he tried to refocus the petulant one to just lie and deny it. But he can't get out of propaganda mode or retribution mode because he also wants some revenge on the judge from his case.
And you can't gag a nominee. Can you imagine you're running for office and you're gagged, you're not allowed to talk? When that happens, we are no longer a democracy, and we're not going to let that happen. And I know a lot of Republicans want retribution. They want to do that. We're going to see what happens. Hopefully everything works out, but you can't do it. You can't have a local judge tell a Republican nominee that he can't talk about things, because there's a lot of things that we can talk about. They're very easy questions to talk about.
Retribution for a gag order, retribution for being indicted all over the country, retribution over his clowns in Congress failing to concoct an impeachment of Biden. And for some reason, they think that saying he isn't focused on revenge, literally right before saying he will get revenge, is something that's convincing.
And I said, wouldn't it really be bad, you know, with like, as an example, Hillary, with the hammering of her cell phones and all of the things she did. But wouldn't it be terrible to throw the president's wife and the former Secretary of State? Think of it, the former Secretary of State, but the president's wife into jail. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing? But they want to do it. So, you know, it's a terrible, terrible path that they're leading us to. And it's very possible that it's going to have to happen to them.
Wouldn't it be terrible? It looks like it's going to happen to them, though. It's like he's turned the Republican Party into an organized crime family. To have a guy that's caught this many cases and happen to face just one of them, have this much revenge on his mind, is impossible to ignore. The revenge tour against law and order even covers his goons like Steve Bannon.
Do you feel highly confident that when you go back and as a senior member of this administration, President Trump's administration, starting in the afternoon of the 20th of January of 2025, do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Cash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Let's get rolling on political prosecutions. They've been saying it for years, and Bannon is feeling extra inspired based on his own upcoming date with justice.
Steve Bannon is threatening to essentially try to go to the Supreme Court here with this, to try to either get the D.C. Court of Appeals, to the district court, to weigh on this, or go to the Supreme Court.
They're not going to touch this, and Steve Bannon will be in prison, I believe, as of July 1st. He's just about out of options here. Now, the reason he's been out, he got sentenced to 4 months. He was given what's called bail pending appeal. And by the way, stash that term away, because Donald Trump will be asking for bail pending appeal after he's sentenced in July. And that means what it sounds like. You get to stay out of prison until your appeal's over. But to get that, you have to show that you have a substantial likelihood, potentially, of winning your appeal. Well, Bannon's lost his appeal now, so he's down to the Hail Marys. He can ask the entire D.C. Circuit to rehear the case. They almost never do that. I don't think they're going to do it here. He can go to the Supreme Court. I don't think they're taking it, and then he's got to surrender.
Trump isn't happy with his henchmen possibly going to jail, so he decided to type out his promises of retribution that apparently no one in MAGA can see. It is a total and complete American tragedy that the crooked Joe Biden Department of Injustice is so desperate to jail Steve Bannon, and every other Republican, for that matter, for not submitting to the unselect committee of political thugs made up of all Democrats and two crazed former Republican lunatics, crying Adam Kinzinger and Liz out-of-her-mind Cheney. It has been irrefutably proven that it was the unselects who committed actual crimes when they deleted and destroyed all material evidence in a pathetic attempt to protect crazy Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats from the truth that I did absolutely nothing wrong. The un-American weaponization of our law enforcement has reached levels of illegality never thought possible before. Indict the Unselect J6 Committee for illegally deleting and destroying all of their findings. MAGA 2024. Isn't it weird how all these criminals potentially facing jail time are all focused on retribution instead of rehabilitating themselves so that when they're released back into society, they won't go back to their lives of crime? See, these criminals believe that they have a shot at controlling law enforcement and judges, so they can just pitch their plans on camera.
The one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators, because we're actually going to use the Constitution to prosecute them for crimes they said we have always been guilty of, but never have.
No political retribution to see here. Just a bunch of guys that broke the law multiple times, but sit close enough to power to plot all the ways that they can turn the country into a fascist state. But it might not be as easy as they want it to be.
To a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that it's America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardian, and Coast Guardsman, each of us commits our very life to protect and defend that document, regardless of personal price.